You're listening to the Snob OS podcast, the podcast for Apple snobs. Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
And this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
And welcome back to the Snob OS show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. On this week's show, WWDC is in the books. Siri AI finally shows up for real. macOS Golden State makes its debut. Apple Intelligence is now watching your security cameras, parental controls, get a total overhaul. Meta gets caught hiding facial recognition in millions of homes. World Cup athletes from Africa and Asia are getting the side-eye treatment. And we've got an iOS 26 tip that turns your AirPods into camera mode. So we want to thank you for coming back to this week's show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the show. If you want to become a Patreon supporter to show us a little love financially, please go to patreon.com/SnobOScast. When you become a member of our Snobist community, you get to watch the show free. Well, you get to watch the show early, and you get exclusive free content that you won't find on this week's show. So speaking of which, let's get into this week's show. And as per usual, we always start with the lowdown, and the majority of the lowdown is going to be the WWDC 26 keynote. So before I get into any details or anything, what do you think of the keynote as a whole?
So I was a little surprised. It was just over an hour. And as I was watching it, I was like, as the time started creeping, I was like, it's pretty much been all, Apple Intelligence. There was a little bit of performance platform enhancements at the beginning. And I was like, is it all just going to be Apple Intelligence? And that's it. So I was a little surprised that the way the content was structured. I was also surprised that we didn't see John Terrance or anything. I was thinking maybe there's going to be some sort of handover, especially at the end when Tim was kind of giving his, it's been, great being CEO, blah, 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 blah. I was surprised by that as well. But I have to say, if they can deliver on what they showed for Apple Intelligence, I think this is what we were expecting 3 years ago. So I'm glad that they're actually able to finally deliver on some of that stuff.
Well, we'll see. They ain't delivered on nothing yet.
That's it. If they deliver what they showed us.
Right. Well, that's what they did 2 years ago, right?
True.
Announced all this stuff and then delayed it. And it was like, don't worry about that stuff.
Not important.
But I get what you're saying. It sounds like they are finally ready to deliver on the promise that they made little over maybe 2 years ago. So we shall see. As far as the keynote as a whole, I'm satisfied with it. I am satisfied that Apple has taken all the flash and flare out of the presentation, because for the longest, people have been saying, it's just this could have been an email, press release, right? I am not proud, but I get where Apple is going. It's like, hey, man, all that extra effort when we just built this gigantic campus and, all those moving parts as to put on a live event, man, that's gone. People are streaming now. We've made it easier to stream, easier than ever to stream the event. You can do it from your phone. Yeah, all the Apple products, you can do it from the web. You can do it from all these different places. We'll invite the journalists to come touch and YouTube and write and journal and do all those things. But we work better as a production. We do productions well. That's part of our marketing. So we're going to continue forward with these actual productions to where we can be specific. We can show off, our production, our marketing skills versus the times where Steve Jobs would get up there and announce things. Again, Steve Jobs is gone. Yeah. Tim Cook is gone, right? We got two.
And COVID, and I think COVID changed the game on it too.
Right.
They saw it could work without a live audience.
So I'm all that to say I'm glad that they've kind of tampered down expectations to where this is what it is, right? You
Yeah.
know, the whole one more thing may appear here and there depending on the scale of whatever announcement they've got. But for the
Mhm.
most part, we're used to WWDC in the spring. We're used to the iPhone event in the fall, and we're used to everything else in between. So this
Mhm.
is the new normal. Get used to it. So I'm satisfied with that. As far as Tim Cook saying goodbye, I think he's going to do it at the iPhone event because that's always been the big event, regardless, you know, whether they are doing it production wise or doing it live. I think he's going to say goodbye there and officially turn it over to John Turnus. Is that his name?
Yep.
Ter. John
NUS.
Turn. Yeah. And then he will do the rest of the show. And then going forward, it'd be him doing his thing. So WWDC, if they had a choice, if they are saying which one do you want to say goodbye at, I'm pretty sure the iPhone event is the one that they choose. Again, we don't know,
Yeah.
but you know, for Tim Cook to kind of tip his hat at saying thank you for so and so, you know, at this event, I think that was pretty much all he's going to get from him. Again, hedging my bets on he's going to do a more formal goodbye later in the fall. So
So that was my thing. That's why that's why I was expecting him to do more, because by the time we get to the iPhone event, John Turnus, I think, be he would have been CEO for a couple of weeks, I think. So I was like, I don't know if they want to. My thinking was, you let Tim kind of take his last big hurrah at WWDC. And, it's kind of like the all John Turner show in September. But since he didn't really say too much or do too much, maybe they are going to, do it at the September event, even though, John will officially be CEO by then.
if he does anything at all, Tim Cook
If
may
he
not
does
be that
anything at
dude.
all. Yeah.
If I was, I'd be like, look, man, y'all got it. I'm out. I got
Long
time for this.
as my stocks are vested, my money is secure. Y'all got it.
Yeah, yeah. So getting into the event, like Nica mentioned, they pretty much just said iOS looks better. iOS 27 is going to look better. They iterated on liquid glass, which is probably the main thing that was announced big in iOS 26, which a lot
And
of
hopefully
people,
people can stop whining now.
that's what I was going to say. And people had the most gripes about iOS 26, particularly with liquid glass.
Yeah.
So I understand that iOS 27, they were like, here, shut up, damn. And they pretty
Are you
much,
happy now?
right. So pretty much what they did was in iOS 27, as it relates to liquid glass, you have a transparency slider. You can slide it to the most liquid glass to where everything is translucent and transparent, or you can draw it back down to where there's just a tint behind it. And I hope that's pretty much all they could do.
Right.
That's not pretty much all they could do with that. You know, I can't really tell the difference between completely liquid glass and tinted right now because I think in the options, you know, when they announced liquid glass, it was just liquid glass.
Yeah.
People complain.
They made a change.
And then Apple made an update and said you can go with liquid glass or tinted.
Tinted. Yeah.
I can't really tell the difference. So I'm hedging my bets on not being able to tell the difference when I move the slider back and forth. So personally, it is what it is. But now people have that option who had beef earlier on, right?
Yeah.
A couple of other things, a unified toolbar across apps. Sidebar now expands to the edge of the window. The end of Intel is officially stamped. OS 27 is clearly built with Apple Silicon in mind, even though it probably will support it. But I mean, you'll be able to install iOS 27 on an Intel based Mac, but you probably won't get all the features that they announced if you do have an Apple Silicon Mac. Siri AI integrated across the desktop experience. App launches faster, AirDrop transfers up to 80% faster. And this is for Mac OS 27, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of I put that second, but I kind of want to put that in front because again, most of it is going to be around Apple AI. So I just wanted to make sure I highlight that Mac OS 27, which is the only the only OS from Apple that gets an actual name. It's Mac OS 27 Golden Gate.
Mm-hmm.
And They just announced it and kept moving.
Yeah.
you
They did
know,
a
they,
little skit that was kinda
yeah,
cheesy, but,
yeah,
you know, okay.
and it kept it moving. So that's pretty much
Right.
all that was there for Mac OS. Siri AI, Apple Intelligence was the meat and potatoes of the announcement. So I'll kind of just do a run through of all the highlights of Apple AI and or Apple Intelligence and Siri AI. I think the difference is Apple Intelligence is the help you write and give you the priority note. All the stuff that is on iOS 26 right now will be Apple Intelligence.
So that's like your foundation, like your base.
Yeah, right. And then Siri AI is the, I don't want to call it a competitor to ChatGPT or Claude or XAI or the other things, but
It is.
Siri AI gets its own app,
Yeah,
similar to ChatGPT and
yeah,
Claude and XAI and all the other ones, to where in addition to just using Siri to start the process of doing the AI like things on your device, it'll have a separate app to where you can open up the Siri AI app and talk to it like a chat bot and use it to do different things throughout your device and throughout the operating system. So
yeah.
that's pretty much the difference.
And I
So
will
go
say,
ahead.
if you go back to listen to some of the earlier episodes, I've been calling this thing Siri AI for months. So I was like, I want to put my little spin on it that I was like, that's what I've been calling it because that's what kind of made the most sense.
Yeah.
But we didn't know at the time what the name was going to be. But I think I like the fact that it has its own dedicated app, but you can still use Siri similar to the way you used it before, just kind of souped up now. So
hmm
you have multiple methods to engage with it, um, and not just kind of one way. And they're kind of interwoven between each other. You can kind of navigate, through them. So
All right. So let me give you the run through. Siri AI reads your messages, mail, photos, and on screen content in real time. No switching apps. Holds a back and forth conversation with full context like a chatbot. Can pull an address out of a text, move photos into albums, search the web, and execute multi step tasks. Lives in its own standalone app, like I mentioned, in addition to working across existing apps. Of course, the native apps like reminders, messages, notes, mail, so on and so forth. So if you want to really utilize the power of Apple Intelligence and Siri AI, Apple, of course, is like, hey man, you got to use our apps. So if you're using, Docs, Google Docs, if you're using Microsoft 365, if you're using, any other thing, you're not going to get the full breadth of the functionality like you would if you were using the native Apple devices, Apple apps, which makes sense because,
yeah.
of course, it's Apple's ecosystem. And that's the only way that Apple can ensure that your data is protected, that your data is not being sold, your data is not being marketed, and you have the most protection. So you got to use their apps to, in addition to the features, have Apple deliver on a promise of we're going to keep your data secure. We can't look at your data. It's running on the device. If you use another app like Google Mail, they can't guarantee that because that's running in Google's cloud, versus Mail running on our server, so on and so forth, right?
And that's
Speaking of Google, the way Apple is able to do this is
mhm,
because they have combined Apple's foundational models, which is what you'll see in Apple Intelligence, and Google's Gemini foundational models. So they're taking their Google's foundational model, combining it with Apple's foundational model, and that does enable you to do the cross device, cross app experience that people are, Google users are familiar with using Google Gemini. But that's the only thing you'll hear about Google in this whole process.
yeah.
Everything is Apple Intelligence, everything is Siri AI. Apple made it a point to tell you that we're just using Gemini's foundational models. So you won't there's no additional Google tie ins, there's no additional Google features. They're just using Google's tools, for lack of a better term, to create this experience that they are selling with iOS 27.
Right, and they basically split the baby, right? So a lot of the Apple foundational models. That's the stuff that's using on device. So if you think we're talking about, navigating mail, like I think the example they use is they were calling the airline or something. And then it was like, oh, you're on the phone with the airline. You probably need the confirmation number. So it would go and look and pull up the confirmation number for you. And on the other side, the other half of the baby is the Google Gemini Foundation um, models, and that runs on the private cloud compute. And they mentioned it several times to make sure that people understood that your data is safe. It's still kind of locked down in the Apple ecosystem with the on-device Apple models for certain parts of Siri AI. And then on the other parts that use the Google foundational models, that's on the private cloud compute, is still secure, but that's the only thing that's running on there. The other thing I think was interesting that they haven't mentioned before when they talked about Apple Intelligence, they mentioned a lot about natural language processing (NLP), and they also talked a lot about agentic AI. So basically, they are introducing some, I won't new terms to Apple, I'll say, because we haven't heard natural language processing and agentic AI in the context of an Apple event. And so I found that unique as well for them to include that. But they were very clear on, the delineation between what the Google Gemini models do and what you do on device.
Yep. So I guess let me get your input. What do you think about this whole Apple Intelligence Siri AI rollout? Do you think they're going to be able to deliver this time, or are they still trying to band aid it all together? Or do you even think that, given the history of Apple Intelligence, will Apple be ready by the fall when they announce these new iPhones?
So I think they will be for a couple of reasons. One, they have to. They can't fail at this again.
Okay.
There already has been, murmurings and talks, not only from, people outside of the Apple bubble, but people inside, people like us who are Apple snobs. We love Apple products. We've been kind of looking at it kind of side eye as well. And their investors are looking at it as well as like, we've given you a couple years to get this together and you haven't. So they are kind of at an inflection point where they have to get it right. And I think the fact that they are using Google's Gemini, their foundational models, as the basis for this, I think this is what gets them over the hump. I think, previously when they tried to do their version of AI, they were so kind of locked in on what the Apple ecosystem looks like, how we function inside the ecosystem. And they were trying to do some things that, quite frankly, inside the Apple ecosystem couldn't support when it came to AI. And the fact that they kind of loosened the reins a little bit to allow someone outside who got it right. We've seen Gemini working before. We've seen how Google has incorporated it. And of course, the Android people are like, we've had this forever. You have. And that's great for you to use on your device. But we haven't had that to use on Apple devices. So Apple is using that foundational model. Think of it as, the cement that they pour on the foundation of your house before they build it up. You don't really see the foundation once you get the house built, but you most certainly need it to be able to get the house put up. So I think the fact that they're using Gemini as the foundation for this to run on top, well, to run underneath what they're trying to do, I think this gives them the push. And the question to me is that I've been thinking is this going to be good enough for the long term, or is Apple going to try and how we were on the Intel chips for the longest time, then we switched over to Apple Silicon. Are they going to eventually try to take this back over, or are they going to be like, you know what,
They're going
this
to take it
is
over.
this is
They're,
like this is done. We got it working. It's fine. And we got the new CEO as a hardware guy, and it's like we're gonna focus on other stuff and let this thing kind of run to the side. I personally think the ego of Apple will not let them have this Google thing for long term.
I don't even think it's ego. I just think Apple could not get it right out of the gate on
Mhm.
their own, so they needed some help to get them started. And they looked to Google Gemini. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure they talked to some other people.
Yeah, we talked about before Perplexity,
OpenAI,
they
yeah,
talked to
they right. They
OpenAI, they talked to, Claude and Gemini. They tried them all out to see what works best for them, and they ultimately went with Gemini
Right. So they're just leasing Gemini for $1 billion a year, however much the number is,
until they figure it out.
until they can get their personnel into place. Like you mentioned, they move some people around. They've got some new people in there, including the CEO of Apple. So once those guys get situated, once they understand their roles, what they understand what the mission and the vision is going forward, and once they get their team to understand how the Gemini foundational model works within their within their ecosystem, the operating system, the hardware, whatever the case may be. Once they get a hang of that, yeah, they're going to kick Google Gemini out and they're going to bring in their own, or they're going to expand their foundational model, and they will claim that it works so much better, so much faster, so much more efficient than Google's Gemini foundation model. And that will be used in marketing and press release for iOS 29 or, iOS 30 or whatever the case may be. So yeah, this is purely a lease, a short-term rental of
Because they had to
foundational
get this
models
right. They had to get this
because they
working.
had to get it right, because
Yeah,
they failed for the most part. They failed not at
failed.
AI, they failed at what they were trying to
Their
do with
version of
AI.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Google Gemini foundational models on Apple will be a short-term thing. So ultimately, like I mentioned, they had to get it right. So I am in agreement in the fact that it will roll when these new iPhones come out in the fall. They may not be every single feature that they announce, but that's par for the course for WWDC anyway. But even before Apple Intelligence or whatever they tried back in the past when they announced iOS, previous iOS versions at WWDC, all the features wasn't available. So
Mhm.
I will
They do
concede.
that sign up beta thing, I think.
Well,
That's that's
just in
important.
general, like when iPhone 18s come out,
Mhm.
every single feature that they announced at WWDC and WWDC 26 will not be available when it rolls out to those devices. But again, I don't expect anybody, well, I wouldn't expect anybody to be like, see, Apple's still dropping the ball,
Yeah.
because they've always done that. And I don't see that as dropping the ball. That's just stuff that they can announce, and we'll get that stuff eventually, with the exception of this AI version. All that's coming out. A little thing to
Oh,
note,
yeah.
another thing to note, iOS 27 will be available for all devices that run iOS 26. So the iPhone 11 on up can run iOS 27, but not all devices can run Siri AI and Apple Intelligence. The only devices that can run Siri AI and Apple Intelligence are the devices that can currently run Apple Intelligence, which is the iPhone 16 Pro, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, all of the iPhone 17s, and all of the upcoming iPhone 18s for phones. Now,
So was
again,
15 not included?
nope, nope, nope. You got to be had the 16 Pro Max, 16 Pro and Pro Max, which is what I have a 16 Pro Max and I got it. I was
You
one
have
of
a
the
16 Pro.
suckers who got it because of the Apple Intelligence.
Yeah.
And then all the M,
It has been 2 years. So yeah. Yep, yep.
yes, and then all the M Max, the Silicon Max. So I want to say M2. I'd have to look and see if the M1 is capable, which I'm pretty sure it is, but I don't want to quote it. All of the M iPads and the latest generation iPad. I think it's iPad generation 10, I want to say. But yeah, all that to say, just because your device can run OS 26 does not mean it can also run Apple Intelligence and Siri AI. So make sure you check into that and make sure you think about that before you either download and or purchase a new device in the fall. All right. A couple other things I got going that I wanted to mention. Apple did announce a couple of other things as it relates to WWDC and Apple Intelligence. Apple Secure Home Video, which is something I was paying attention to. Apple Intelligence is now integrated with HomeKit security cameras through a feature called Apple Home Secure Video. Instead of just getting a generic motion alert, your iPhone can now describe exactly what's happening in the footage: a person at the door, a package being delivered, a car in the driveway. For instance, Apple Intelligence generates detailed contextual descriptions of security camera events stored in iCloud. Of course, you got to have the iCloud Plus that gives you the 500 to 2 terabyte gigabyte storage. That's not free. You got to pay for that. Works with existing HomeKit compatible cameras. So if your current camera is HomeKit compatible, it will also take advantage of this Apple Home Secure Video. Notifications become genuinely useful. Instead of just motion detected at front door, it'll say Terrance detected at front door, or package left at the front door, or your dog is outside, something like that, right? Part of Apple's broader smart home push, the hub, doorbell, and camera were all coming this fall. I don't remember them mentioning any hardware. Of course, this is WWDC, so they normally don't mention hardware. We'll have to wait and see, but
Like we talked about last week, it looks like it's kind of alluding to some sort of device that's specific for home management.
Right, right. So, that's all to say that now that Apple is more confident about Apple Intelligence, they've added it to more things. For instance, Apple Secure Video and some upcoming hardware in the fall. So, did you take anything out of the Secure Video thing, or is it just meh for you?
Nah.
Okay.
The only thing, it is interesting though, I did a couple of Black Fridays ago now, I bought some security cameras that I was like, I'm going to put them up, and they are still sitting in the box. So I will look at them, and if not, maybe I'll return them and buy something that is compatible now.
Yeah. Again, like I mentioned last week, I've got a lot of current hardware sitting around here that I'd have to upgrade, and maybe I'll start doing it a little bit by a little
Piece by
bit. But
piece.
again, you gotta show and prove now. In the beginning, I bought sight unseen. Now it's just like you need to prove it to me before I spend any more money, because I got to upgrade all this stuff.
Right.
Another thing that they mentioned that I paid attention to, since I still got two kids. One is on the verge of expanding their Apple products time allowance with screen time. Parents can now set custom app categoric restrictions by time of day. Social media off after 9 p.m. Games only on weekends. Schedules can be built around school hours, bedtime, family dinner, whatever you need. Much more flexible than screen time's blunt on or off approach. And it applies across all the child's Apple devices. So basically, they're giving you more functionality within screen time versus just screen time off, screen time on, and you get reports. Now that you can schedule it by category, like they mentioned. If I only want my kids on social media after school between the hours of 6 and 9 p.m., I can do that. And then 9 p.m., social media cuts off, but they can still use other parts. Like they can play games, they can watch videos, or whatever the case may be. But if I only want them playing video games, on the weekends between the hours of 10 and 1 a.m., I can set that up to where they can play all night long. The game's cut off, but if they still want to utilize other app parts, they can as well. So this giving you more functionality within screen time versus, like I mentioned, just turning on or off.
And they spend quite a bit of time on this. And they walk through the different phases. I remember seeing one part where if your kid wants to download an app, they send the request through iMessage. You can look at the app through iMessage and kind of see what it's about before you make your decision. And then you can approve or decline all of this through iMessage. So
Well, you could do that in the past. The difference is you can do it per category, right? Before it was just app, and you review the app. Now it's just like social media. So you don't have to watch every specific app. You can grant access to social media, and then they can download those apps. You can do gaming. You can do, whatever the case may, streaming services, for example. I don't know what's in there until they roll it out, but
Mhm.
they're doing it by category versus just like individual, or just blunt on and off, right? Yeah, and that's pretty much it for screen time. And I think that's going to do it for the lowdown. Did you have any other thoughts that you wanted to talk about as far as WWDC or Apple AI or Siri Intelligence? Or I said it all backwards. Siri AI or Apple Intelligence?
I will say, I was happy to see that they've improved Spotlight
Uh
so
huh.
the search is better. I was like, yay. I thought it was interesting. The other thing in Safari, if you have a page open, say if you're like on Ticketmaster and you're waiting for it to open, it can, note when the page changes and send you alert. I was like, that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that I think that I really liked is you can describe an extension and it will create that extension for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's like, you don't want to see apple or, orange on a page, you can type out, in a natural language, the way you normally speak, a it'll create a what do you call it? It would create at that extension for you. So I thought those things were kind of interesting. I think those are probably like on the outside of the Apple AI stuff. Those were probably the three things that I kind of, that kind of stood out. And I will say, I do have an Apple developer account. So I did watch the state of the platform that was like right after the keynote. And what they did was they walked through some of the way the features are that developers can the way they can include it and the simplistic way that they can include these new features. Some of the things like the slider for the for the liquid glass, they were like, you don't have to do anything. That's going to just be automatically added there. So you don't have to change your app. You don't have to add anything. Once, we roll it out and you update it, that's going to be there. So it was just kind of interesting to see how they, were introducing these changes to developers, and how they would be able to easily adopt and integrate some of these changes into their existing apps and their new apps. So that was pretty interesting as well. So yeah, so I think that's probably so far it's been a successful WWDC. It's, we record on a Wednesday. There are 2 more days left. So I get like little notifications every morning for the Dub Daily, they're calling it, to kind of like say, hey, these are the things that are upcoming for the day you may want to check out or whatever. So yeah, it's been an interesting WWDC so far.
All right. Speaking of the beta, the developer beta for iOS 27 is available right now. Again,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have a developer account in order to download that. I've been seeing some of the videos with the tech journalists, the YouTubers who have those accounts who are, kind of displaying some of the features already that
Mm-hmm.
Apple announced earlier this week. So definitely pay attention to those if you are interested. My final thoughts is Apple is delivering on what most people, specifically I, thought Apple Intelligence would be. It would be a true Apple assistant,
Assistant.
meaning that it knows your contacts, it knows your calendar, it knows your reminders, it knows your notes, and it can use that information regardless of what app, what app you're in or what device you're on, right? And it just does that. It really doesn't, like, for instance, some of these other AI platforms, you can create spreadsheets and you can create dashboards
Mm-hmm.
and you can create apps
Mm-hmm.
and you can code and you can talk to it and it can be your therapist
Mm-hmm.
and it could be your boyfriend or your girlfriend. It could be your best friend, it
Your
can
doctor,
your
even.
doctor. It could do all these things. And Apple's like, nope, we're not doing any of that. And I think that's where some of the confusion came in because when Apple Intelligence first launched, people were looking for Apple's intelligence to be
A
like
catch-all.
OpenAI, to where you can just talk to it and everything. You can create art, which Apple did kind of announce you can start
With
to
Image
create some
Playground,
with
they
Image
did some change for
Playground, to
that.
where there's more realistic, you can do all these things, catch all. And Apple's like, nope, we want to be a assistant. If you use Apple Calendar, we can dig through there and pull that information no matter where you are. If you're in messages and you need to find out, when is my next play date with my kids, to
Mhm.
pull that out of the calendar naturally. I don't have to go to the calendar and find that out. Same thing with notes, reminders, things like that. And making it a true personal
Personal assistant to you.
assistant, right? Versus, again, trying to compete with
Yeah.
all the other options out there. Now, there are some features that are useful. For instance, Siri AI is a standalone app. It'll remember conversations. You can use it to, create grocery lists, shopping lists, birthday gift lists, all the things that you would normally do a chatbot with, but
Mhm.
personally,
Yeah.
not
It knows you.
right, not give me 5 strategies for business ideas that I can create a course and sell against, right? They ain't doing
And
all
the
that.
thing is that's the smart thing
Hmm.
because you have those apps, you have AI companies, you
Hmm.
have people whose sole purpose is to do that.
Hmm.
And I think one of the things, was one of the initial issues with Apple and Apple Intelligence. They were trying to find a way to make all those things that the AI companies are doing work inside Apple. And I think they went back and refined. It's like, let's focus on the personal assistants because you have all these other companies that are already doing this, and we don't need to do that.
Right. And I can definitely see the delineation between the two, right? Because
Hmm.
I'm more and more and more using Claude by Anthropic. And there are some things that I'll do in Claude that I won't even think about doing on my phone. But there are some
Right.
things that I will do using Apple Intelligence and Siri AI that I won't even
One,
need
two, Claude.
Claude
Yeah.
for. I could connect Claude to this and connect it to Google Docs and
Yeah.
connect it to reminders and connect to do all that. Nope, I don't want to do that.
You don't need to.
I separate things. I'm a category person. I categorize this over here and I categorize this over here. They don't talk, So I, for one, am looking forward to being able to use, Apple Intelligence and Siri AI as a personal assistant for my daily life. And then if I want to, do taxes, if I want to, create a dashboard for my family's net worth, I can use something else for that, right?
Right.
I ain't got to try to put a square peg in a round hole to try to
Yeah.
get that to work on
To
Apple
make it work.
Intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's all I had for the lowdown. Let's move into second string. And we talked about this earlier on my show, The Tech John, but I thought I would bring this up because, of course, they're doing this.
Of course.
Meta quietly ships facial recognition to 50 million devices, specifically the Meta Ray Bans and the what's the other goggles that they have?
The Quest, Oculus.
No, ski goggles. What's the? There's a popular brand, Oakley. There it is.
Okay.
Oakley,
Had
they
no
got
clue.
smart ski goggles as well, right?
Okay.
With the cameras and things, right? So let me give you the background. A security researcher digging through the Meta AI companion app for Ray-Ban glasses found something that was never supposed to be seen: a fully built working facial recognition pipeline sitting dormant inside the app on over 50 million devices. So again, in order to use the Ray-Ban glasses, you need the Meta AI companion app, and that's how you use to set up the glasses or whatever the case may be. And when you record stuff with your Meta Ray-Bans, you can download it or view it and play it back and share it or whatever using the companion app. So this facial recognition software, something Facebook said we ain't doing. We've listened to the feedback and we are slowly thinking about it. And when we roll something out, we will make sure we are paying attention to security and privacy.
Sure.
And we'll let you know when it rolls out. Meanwhile, they slid this in and set it up, and it is locked and loaded for when they eventually just pull the trigger and be like, deal with it, right?
And is anybody surprised?
Right. So let me give you a little bit more details.
Okay.
The feature, internally called Name Tag, works like this. The glasses camera detects a face. The app generates a 2048 dimensional biometric embedding, searches against stored profiles, fires a notification called person recognized, and then two versions were considered. One that only recognized your meta contacts, and one that could identify anyone with a public social media account.
Oh no.
The code had been sitting on devices since at least January of 2026. Wired exposed it on June 4th. Then Meta VP of Communications called it a, quote, early stage exploration with no final decision made.
Sure.
Then quietly pushed an update, removing the code entirely within hours of that statement being made. Of course, the pattern with Mark Zuckerberg: build it, ship it silently, deny it's real, then delete when caught. Over 70 advocacy organizations had already urged Meta to abandon facial recognition for the glasses, with 100 plus million Ray-Ban glasses sold. Again, this is not going away anytime soon. So your thoughts on Meta shipping but not enabling this facial recognition software that everybody does not want?
So the issue is not them stashing the software on device. Companies do that all the time. Stuff that, they are not ready to release yet, but they want to go ahead and roll the software in. The issue is the type of software that it is. Now, if it was a tool internal to the device itself, if it was something that was maybe functional, but if it was something native to the device for the performance of the device, then sure, I get that. Because again, companies do it all the time and they activate it when it's time. The issue is that this is facial recognition. We've talked about it, even on our show, the issues with facial recognition and the fact that they have two versions, one that does just your meta contacts, which if you're going to do it, then sure, use that because it's supposed to be, who you're interacting
Who you talk
with
to, yeah,
in their metaverse or whatever.
in their ecosystem.
In their ecosystem. The other, which is a larger issue, is this: it could identify anyone with a public social media account. That's billions of people that you could have this software say person recognized. So that's the thing. And the fact that they didn't just own up to it, the fact that they was like, oh, yeah, it's not something we've decided on. And then they go in and quietly delete it because they knew it was
And
not
quickly delete it.
right. They first sent out a statement that said, oh yeah, it's exploratory. We haven't made any decision. And then soon after, they do an update to remove it because they knew that they were wrong. But again, this is not surprising for this company because they've done it before. And that's the thing that people shouldn't be shocked by because they've done this type of thing before. The issue is that it's facial recognition software that is inherently flawed because one, they don't have enough of the appropriate training data. That's how these people get misidentified. People going to jail for stuff that, they didn't do. They're across the country. They have an alibi or, documentation that if they weren't there in that thing and they still get, hemmed up because of this software. And it's inherently bad. And it's inherently not fully vetted for what it needs to do and for the level of intrusiveness that it is and the level of, I'm not sure what the word is, but the level of harm this can inflict on a person who is misidentified.
Yeah, and if anything, just privacy, right?
Yeah.
The fact that it can do this, is going to lend to all kind of privacy issues.
Violations.
One of the reasons why this has gotten a lot of bad press is because ICE was using some sort of facial recognition technology to quote unquote identify illegal immigrants. And of course,
You gotta trust them.
right, misidentification was rampant, So for the fact that Meta was going forth with this, even though they say they wasn't, here, let me read this part. Meta disputes the framing. Spokesperson Ryan Daniels told Wired the findings amount to evidence of routine exploration, saying nothing has shipped to consumers, no final decision has been made, and the company's not building a, quote, central face database. An earlier company statement cast the technology competitively, noting that rivals already sell facial recognition products while Meta does not. The company maintains that any eventual launch would be transparent.
Well, then why was it on the device then?
And then why would you just take it off the device immediately? If that's the case, leave it on there and do whatever you was going to do, talk to people.
Your exploratory situation. Why remove it?
Right.
Because they knew it was messed up. And as quickly as they removed it, they can put it back. And if nobody is, constantly watching this, I would not be surprised if they push another update to put it back on there.
Right. And the fact that they did this before and got burned, right? Let me read this part. Meta shut down Facebook's facial recognition photo tagging in late 2021 and deleted more than 1 billion stored face prints, then reintroduced limited recognition in 2024 to flag scam ads. The legal bills were enormous. $650 million to settle Illinois Biometric Information Privacy Act claims and $1.4 billion to Texas in 2024 over the same tag suggestions technology. The largest such state settlement on record. ACLU notes Meta has paid more than $7 billion in privacy settlements and fines over the years, which is why advocates argue the company has not earned the trust to deploy face recognition in everyday eyewear. Again,
and haven't.
Right, and haven't. And this ain't helping. This latest one is not helping. So it's like Meta's like really trying to make fetch happen.
And it ain't happening. Gretchen, it's not happening.
Right. I mean, they're really pushing. They're going to do it. They're going to do it.
Like I said, just as quickly as they pulled it, once the heat dies down, they'll probably put it back.
They'll announce
and they'll just make it a little more covert.
Right. Well, no, I think they're just going to just deal with it.
Just roll it out.
Yeah, they're just going to roll it out. The reason why they pulled it back now is because we caught them about to roll it out. So now
without telling anybody.
Right. So it's like, let's pull it back. But this is the amount of data Meta has between Facebook, between WhatsApp, between Instagram, between Oculus. Zuckerberg he's the one that keyed the term, what is move fast and break things. Mm-hmm. This is just another example of them doing that. So I am almost 100% sure that Facebook Meta will roll out some sort of widely consumer ready facial recognition and just deal with the punches.
Yeah. Pay $7 billion more.
Yep. And it's just weird because everybody's already now holding a camera in your face. Everything is content. Everything is content. People are building entire followings just based on their daily interactions, whether the person on the other side agreed to those interactions or not, right? Some of it has been used for good reasons. A lot of times we don't believe things until they're on video, right? Mm-hmm. So you actually have to times to protect yourself or to just show what reality is really for happened. You at that moment is to record video. But I can see you holding the camera up while you're recording me doing, saying, whatever the case may be. With the glasses,
it's a light.
Right. If that much, right? They may get around to actually having a light. It may just be the glasses look so innocuous that you never know if you're talking to somebody with glasses in the next 2, 3, 4 years, are they recording you? And then automatically, just me personally, my guard is already up. It's like, all right, let me be careful what I say.
Anyway,
right. Let me be careful what I do, which dampens the
Interactions you have with people.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. You know,
It
I'm
takes the organic
right.
conversations or people getting to know each other or talking about a specific topic because everybody is always kind of on guard
Yep,
because you never know somebody try a gotcha or
yep.
something like that.
But this facial recognition is coming. So
But
whether
yeah,
Meta's doing, I think Meta just wants to be first,
yeah,
but it's coming. Whether Meta does it, whether it be these cops and this surveillance technology that's messing everything up across the country, it's rolling out. So
yeah,
be ready for some sort of not only just record everything to be recorded, but then everything to be recognized while it's
yeah,
being recorded. It's coming. Just deal
yeah.
with it. All
Unfortunately.
right. Yeah. So that's it for second string. We're going to move into for the culture. And this is World Cup week. Everything kicks off this week. But it looks like FIFA is, they're not really playing fair when it comes to all of the countries that are going to participate in this season's FIFA World Cup. Specifically, Senegal's national team landed in San Antonio and was forced to open all their bags on the airport tarmac, remove all their shoes, and submit to handheld metal detector sweeps.
This is the San Antonio, Texas
San Antonio, this
in
is
June
America, in America, right?
on the tarmac where
Yeah,
it's hot as hell and the cement is even hotter
right.
on the tarmac.
Right. Uzbekistan's delegation arrived in New York for a pre-tournament friendly, which is like a unofficial match, and had their phones confiscated, pockets emptied, and bags searched by sniffer dogs. Meanwhile, the Netherlands players standing right next to them were not subject to the same treatment. Manager, I'm assuming this is Uzbekistan's manager, Fabio Cannavaro, called the treatment disgraceful. Iraq forward playing for the Iraq team, Amin Hussein sat through a 7-hour interrogation in Chicago before being allowed entry. A FIFA appointed referee from Somalia was denied entry altogether.
He
Basically,
had to
what?
do a 12-hour
Right, right.
interview.
Right. And then they wouldn't even let him in. They sent him
No,
on
they
back
sent him
home.
back.
This is somebody who was hired, who was vetted,
Vetted,
who
had a
was
diplomatic passport,
who went through all the channels, all the right things we're supposed to do to get
and
there. And
was
when it,
rated the highest, the best referee in the whole continent of Africa. Like, come on, my guy. Now they're
yep,
saying he has terrorist affiliations with bad actors. Like, come on, man.
yep. Again, all these countries, including Iran, Senegal, I mentioned Senegal, have all faced similar barriers, visa denials, extended interrogations, aggressive searches. So even though FIFA is up and running for the most part, there's some
Allegedly.
these cities, Atlanta included, is band-aiding things, got blockers up down in Atlanta, down in where the main hub for all the MARTA stations. They got all this
Barriers.
wood blockers up because they didn't get done in enough time with the renovations. So instead of just being like, oh well, it is what it is, they put up all this wood blocking to where if you go down in there, it looks like you're in a basement. To where you got to go through these tunnels to get out into the world. That is not going to look good for millions of tourists coming here who feel like they are trapped in a basement until they can get out and find where they're going, like a
It's
labyrinth.
yeah, it's one guy who's kind of gotten popular. He's from Germany, and he was like, "Hey guys." At first, I was like, "Is he just saying it's because there's a bunch of black people here?"
Mm-hmm.
But knowing what's going on with the train station, he was like, this train situation is supposed to be the easiest way to navigate around. They were like, it's kind of nervous, so you may just want to take an Uber if you're getting down there. So you already have people who are here from other countries
Mm-hmm.
who are engaging in the games. And I've seen some really funny content from people from these European countries enjoying the food and just like, oh my god, surprised that there's so many trees here in Atlanta. But the thing is, you can see the contrast between European visitors coming here, getting great experiences, having a
Mm-hmm.
ball. I had my
Mm-hmm.
first 1 a.m. Waffle House, and it was great. All the trees and all the stuff. It's all great. And then on the opposite side, you have people being searched on the tarmac before they get in. And the saying, we all know it. We're black people. You know, you don't have the complexion for the protection, and it's being even more abundantly clear that certain
Even when you follow all the
complexions,
rules.
even when you do everything right, because we already know certain countries, mostly African and Caribbean countries and Middle Eastern companies, they put you through these rigorous visa processes to get here. I know when I went to Brazil, I had to go fill out this form. I had to go to the Brazilian consulate in Atlanta, do an interview with them for them to approve it. I had to leave my passport with them and my documentation, and they put my visa in my passport and mailed it back to me. So if we're having to do that here in the States, imagine what that process is for people coming in from other countries and continents, that, especially with this government, deem, unsuitable or whatever the case may be. It's just really unfortunate that um, people can't even really enjoy it. The fans can't really enjoy it. I saw one guy said he was getting ready to go on his flight, and the day before his flight, visa canceled. And it's
Yeah.
just like, people pay all these money for these tickets, for accommodations, taking off work, all these things that they've been able to do forever, because other countries aren't, let's be quite frank, aren't as racist as this country is. And, this is North America. So it's, US, Canada, Mexico. I think Canada offered the Somali referee, to come and, referee some of the games there. But by that time, he was already back in Somalia. He spent more time being interrogated than he did actually being,
On
you know,
soil.
yeah. So it's unfortunate, because this is supposed to be a world unifying thing that's come to North America, and what we've shown is we don't deserve nice things.
And it's not just the United States. I think it's FIFA, right? Because I've been seeing stories about people buying tickets and getting their tickets, and then come to find out months later they've been moved to another area.
Mhm.
You know, tickets are fluctuating up and down, up and down. So there's really no bead on how much tickets are going to be when you purchase them. You mentioned Visa canceling some people's tickets. So it just seems like for FIFA, who are the organizers of this,
Oh,
they
they
was
got
just
plenty
like,
culpable
we but
people.
we gonna get paid. We gonna get our money
Regardless,
regardless. Y'all figure that
whatever y'all
out.
got, figure it out.
Y'all
And
figure that out, which is
yeah,
why the Uzbekistan and the Senegal people are having so much problems, because you assume that you went through all the right channels, you got all the right check marks, you got
you
all the
went through
right
the right
stamps, you
things.
did
Yeah,
everything. You're expecting FIFA to be like, all right, this dude is good. Here's our stamp to say so. Let him on through.
and FIFA says
And the
no.
fact
It's
that they
based on the
didn't get
country.
let through, United States, TSA, whomever stopping them, and the person has no recourse. They can't be like, hey man, let me call this hotline. Let me let you talk to the people so I can get the green light. They just on here on their own, right?
Yeah,
And if FIFA kind of like just left people up to their own devices. They left
yeah.
the
Which is
cities up to their
yeah,
own devices. They left the players to their own devices. They left not the
the
concert,
countries,
the attendees, the
yeah.
attendee, everybody's left to their own device. It seems like there's no sort of, let's make this a harmonious experience for everybody, regardless of where you go to play the matches, whether you are an officiator, whether you're a team, whether you're an attendee, whether you are a city. It's
Yeah.
just like, everybody figure it out. We just gonna get
Figure it
paid.
out for yourself. And the thing that really kind of annoyed me the most is when the referee who FIFA hired and vetted, they were like, well, we don't get involved with the different countries'
See,
process of visas. And I was like, you're supposed to have this guy's back. But I hate to put it all on the person who is allegedly the president of this country. But if you remember, FIFA did give him some sort of weird peace
trophy,
prize
yeah,
because he didn't get the
Nobel Peace Prize.
Nobel. And they were really chumming up to this guy, and I can't prove it, but there's no way that certain people from certain countries are being
Sure.
treated this way
Sure.
without the knowledge on both sides, FIFA and the US government. There, you can't tell me that there is no sort of kind of wink wink nudge nudge of who's good and who's acceptable and who's not. You can't make me believe it.
Yep. So all that being said, at first I was hype.
Mm,
I was trying to get tickets. I got
yeah.
money in my savings account right now that was allocated for tickets. And
Mm,
as more and more stories come out, I'm like, man, I'm just gonna watch this at the crib.
yeah.
I'm just gonna
I
sit
you
at the
know, I kind
crib
of
and
wanted to
watch it.
go down to, be in the environment, but then I was like, do I really?
I don't want to get caught up in no labyrinth in no basement trying to get to the
I don't want to
place.
get caught up in no
And
ice raid.
Uber prices quadruple the price, and
Right. Like,
I'll just have
golly.
to, FIFA's in the background in our backyard. I may just have to be like, you know what, I'm just gonna stay in the house in this air conditioning.
Because it's really unfortunate that we have something this large here, not only in the States, but right here in our own city. And it's still like, I don't know, man.
I
I
mean,
don't know how safe it is to go out there in the streets.
and I'm pretty sure it'll be fine, and
Yeah.
people will have a good time, and there'll be moments will be had,
Right.
but at what cost? You know what
At
I'm
what
saying?
cost?
You can't guarantee a good time or empty pockets. Empty your pockets at the very least. The very least is going to happen. Everything's going to be triple the amount, and it's going to be
You
hard
just
to,
never know who's going to show up,
yeah.
what they're going to try and pull, because it is going to be a lot of, international people here. And, this government lives to, trot out, people with AKs and, Humvees and stuff. That's like, they really get off on that. So you just never know.
Yeah.
I just hope that people that do come here, they're just vigilant. They're aware of what's going on around them. And I really, really hope that they have a really great time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really
Because,
hope so.
yeah, don't want to be a negative Nancy about everything. And I'm pretty
Right.
sure things will be fine. It's just this whole organization at the top, just
It's just,
hopefully it just all comes together and everybody has a good time. I'll just
yeah.
leave it at that.
Yep, yep, yeah.
All right, so that is it for the culture. We're gonna move into the hookup. And did you know that your AirPods or your EarPods, if you're still using the connected cable to your iPhone, can be used as a shutter for your camera? You
I
don't have
did
to.
not.
Well, you don't have to hold your phone out or whatever. You can actually use your AirPods to tap the port where
The
the
stem?
button is. Yeah, the stem. I couldn't think of the word of it. The stem, and actually take a picture. So let me just get into the details. No timer, no remote needed. With the AirPods Pro or the AirPods, you can actually use the stem. I keep forgetting the name. And basically all you do is, you get it set up, get the picture set up, the camera set up where you want it to view in there, and then you just double tap on the stem and it will actually take the picture. I haven't tried this yet. My only concern is when I do this, will it take the picture with me like this?
You probably have to
Or will
set
it
a
be on a
timer.
delay? Right,
Set a
right.
timer. And then when you click it, then move your hand.
They say no timer, but I'm hoping there's a built-in delay to where when I double tap,
Oh,
it like
it gives
one
you a
like a
chance.
half second
A
delay
beat.
to where I can double tap, put my hand down, and then take the picture, because it says no timers.
Oh, it does say no timer.
Me being the particular that I am, I would do this only on a timer. I
Yeah.
would do this, make sure the timer set,
Have a
and then
backup plan.
right, and then do it as the shutter. Then wait the 3 to 5 to 10 seconds, whatever the timer length you set, and then it takes the picture. Right, I'd much rather err on the side of caution
Right.
versus just doing it.
Trusting this
Right,
this time to move your hand from the stem back
right,
to
and then
position.
all your pictures look like this.
Or it has
Right.
like the, what do you call it? The drag from when you're
Yeah,
kind of
from
like
the
moving
your
your
hand
hand
going down
down.
the blur.
Right, the
Yeah.
blur.
Right. So, as an alternative, if you're scary like me, you can also use your Apple Watch as a shutter for your camera as well. You open up the camera app on your watch, you put your hand down, and then tap it and take the picture while you're smiling that way. So there's two options: use your AirPods, or you can use your Apple Watch as a shutter for your iPhone camera. So that is going to do it for the hookup. And Nica, if you don't have anything else, that's going to do it for this week's show. Tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Tech Savvy Diva everywhere.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH. To comment, connect, and share and support the show, please go to snoboscast.com. You can get all the details there. And until next week, we are out. Peace.
Bye, everybody.